In Payday 2, very few heists reach the same level of complexity that Big Oil does. Now, it's not actually that big of an achievement, as most of the heists in the game are just variations of press F and defend a position, but Big Oil can be tricky for newcomers to the game. A lot of players get stuck easily on the heists, and specifically the engine puzzle on day 2, so I decided to put this video together, as when you actually learn how to do the puzzle, Big Oil is one of the most interesting heists the game has to offer. Even outside of gameplay, the heist is interesting from a lore and political perspective, as the crew are basically setting the world dozens of years back from eco-friendly energy because the elephant just doesn't want to lose money from oil companies. Definitely one of the gang's more morally questionable heists. The first day of Big Oil is pretty simple, with the objective being to retrieve the address of the scientist's mansion from the bikers. You can spawn at one of 3 different spots, which will also be your escape point for the day. Once you're inside the clubhouse, you're going to want to clear out all the bikers so they don't trip the alarm. You can ECM rush it or play it loud if you want to, but if the bikers get alerted, they will go and destroy assets that you can use on the second day, so I'd recommend to do this day in stealth. The assets are randomly chosen and will spawn on 3 tables, with 1 asset per table, one on the ground floor, second story room, and the balcony. The assets can be a keycard, blueprints, plane keys, shutter codes, and general intel. Once you've cleared out all of the bikers, set up drills on the safes and wait for them to finish, as one of them will have the address. While the drills are going, make sure to check out the basement or the clubhouse, as it spawns about 8 ATMs which you can saw open or use an ECM jammer to open, which is good for extra money. Assault rifles will also spawn in the miscellaneous buildings in the junkyard, which you can secure for extra money. Once you've drilled open the safes and gotten the address, you're free to escape and move on to the second day. The real fun of Big Oil comes on day 2, where you're tasked with retrieving the correct engine from the scientist's mansion. Before you actually enter the house, it's worth checking through the windows, as there's a chance some of them will not have the shutters down on them. You can actually check where the server room is by looking through the windows, and you can use method of elimination for the server room being downstairs if the shutters are down on neither side and you can't see the server room through the windows. If you can only check one of the upstairs windows and can't see the server room, I'd recommend using the keycard if you got it on day 1 on the downstairs door, as it's much easier to defend the upstairs server room if you're drilling into it. Once you've gotten the correct server room door open, you'll have to hack into the computer to open up the downstairs lab. While the hack is going, you're going to want to have a look around the map for different clues. There will be clipboards and notepads around the house, listing the amount of H's in an element. Make sure to keep a note of that, as we'll need it later. Make sure to also defend the electrical boxes. The hack only takes 200 seconds, but it can take a lot longer if it keeps on getting interrupted. When the hack is completed, you'll be able to go downstairs into the lab, and you'll have to do the hardest part of this heist. Science. Now, before you start to panic, don't worry, this is less science and more just using clues from Elliot to figure out what the correct engine is. Now, what's worth noting is that if you're missing any clues at this point in the heist, you'll find them down in the lab. You'll be able to find a PSI value on a computer in the lab, which should be the final clue you need. In the lab, there will be 12 engines. Each engine has a different colour, different amount of tubes coming out of their hydrogen canister, and a different pressure value. Using the clues you found from around the map, you can start to figure out which engine is the correct one. The whiteboard at the entrance to the lab will decide what colour the correct engine will be, based off of the element you found on the notepad earlier. The amount of H's on the clipboard will decide how many tubes are coming out of the hydrogen canister on the correct engine. A single H has a single tube, 2 H's has 2, 3 H's has 3. The pressure for the correct engine is dictated by what pressure is displayed on the computer screen, being either greater than or equal to 5,783 or less than or equal to 5,812. You can then eyeball it by seeing if the pressure is higher or lower than another engine with the same colour and the same amount of tubes. Once you've picked your engine, you'll have to lay a flare in to signal bile to come in. The flare can be in 2 spots, on the runway or out at the pool. If you're playing stealth, get ready for loud, because when bile comes in, he's going to trip the alarm. If you're playing in loud, I'd recommend leaving the engine in the house when going to light the flare, as you'll only need the engine when bile actually lands, and you'll get slowed down quite a bit when carrying the engine. Then, once you've lit the flare, just hold out in the house until bile arrives, as the house provides a really good defensive position. When bile arrives, I'd recommend waiting for the assault wave to go into fade before going out to deliver the engine, as the map's quite open and it's very easy to get shot. Of course, if you're still doing stealth at this point, you should walk out before bile lands, as he only trips the alarm as he's coming in. If bile's landing at the pool though, you can pretty much just go out whenever it seems safe to do so, as the chairs provide good cover and it's not too hard to run back into the house at any point. Once bile's taken the engine, hold out in the house and wait for Bane to confirm if it's the correct engine or not, preferably without blowing yourself up like I did. If you got the plane keys asset on day 1, as soon as Bane confirms it's the correct engine, you'll be able to escape using the plane. If you didn't, however, you're just going to have to wait for bile to return. Like before, if you got the plane keys or bile on the runway, wait for fade, but with pool, you can pretty much go out whenever it seems safe enough to do so. And once it's safe to do so, make your way to the escape, and you're done. And with that, that's been Big Oil for Dummies. As usual, I've been Cookie Dough, and have a good one.